Welcome to Stepdad Success, turning the tide on the way stepdads are seen and show up in the world. We're a new breed of leaders raising leaders. Blood or no blood, we raise them as our own. We're connected, loving, and committed to leading them into the future. If you asked a normal dad, he'd say we're doing the impossible. He'd say, but they're not yours. How do you do it? Yet every day, stepdads around the world are forging the way. That's what we call Stepdad Success. We're leaders raising leaders. And these are our stories. Good morning, stepdads. This is James Klobasser from Stepdad Success. And today I want to talk about confrontation. Now, there was a little incident at our house just yesterday. Our boys were rebelling, pushing back, stretching their boundaries, trying to take that little extra inch. And I know for a lot of dads out there, this is happening on a daily basis. Sometimes minute by minute, sometimes hour by hour, but it certainly happens in our household as well. The boys were being a bit rowdy, as most boys do, but I had to sit them down and have a little discussion with them. And of course, with little discussions like that, it's tough. It's tough to get across to kids. Now, one of the key comments that one of the boys made yesterday was, but my dad says that too. And what he was referring to was me saying, look, I don't care what goes on at your other house. I want you to listen to us when you're here. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. You know, the youngest one, he was like, but my dad says that too. And I stopped him there and I said, what does that tell you? What does that actually say to you? And he kind of thought for a moment. He sat back in his chair and he didn't really have an answer for me. And this is where a lot of miscommunication takes place. As parents, we understand that situation. We try to talk over the top of them. So I had to take it very slowly. I had to have him understand what the situation was. I had to have him understand why we're referring to this situation. And I had to have him understand what the lesson was in it for him. Okay, now this wasn't a big issue. This was just them being rowdy. You know, being boys, arguing, fighting, poking, annoying each other. And this was around the dinner table and this was at dinner time and we just wanted to settle the house down. And as my youngest said, but Dad says this too. The next question I asked him was, do you listen to him? And again, he stopped because he knew, of course, that he wasn't fully listening to him. And it probably wasn't that he wasn't listening to him. I'm sure he was listening to him, but he didn't hear him. And there's a difference between listening and actually hearing what someone has to say to you. And this is the difficulty in speaking with little kids. It's a difficulty in speaking to adults sometimes. You know, we can say one thing and they can say a totally different thing back to us. So imagine, the gap between adults and children. I'm constantly asking my kids, do you understand what that word means? And I ask that so that they can hear me. Not so that, not just because I think they've listened to me. I ask it so that they've heard me at a deep, deep level so they understand me. And this is the key in communication with young children. You have to get down to their level. You have to explain it in their terms. Relate it to things that are at their age level. And there's a big difference, even between 16-year-olds and 40-year-olds, 16-year-olds and 30-year-olds. These are two totally different conversations that are happening in their mind. Now, my boys are 8 and 10. I'm 46. There's a massive gap there. There's a massive language gap. So there automatically becomes a massive hearing and understanding gap. Constantly slowing down, constantly asking questions whether they understood you, whether they understood words you're using, whether they understand the message that's being put across. It is very tough in difficult times. Like the boys were being very rowdy, but I had to sit them down, quieten things down, get things under control, get a smile on their face so that they were receptive to my message. Now, as I said, this happens all the time in my household. I'm sure it happens in your household too, especially, and this can happen with teenagers, adults, across the board. But one thing I want you to kind of take note of today is how you're communicating, and really how the other person is receiving that communication and whether they're understanding it or not. Ask them the question. Do they understand what you're saying? Ask the questions about the words that you're using. Do you understand that word, what it means? Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? And the biggest one at the end was, do you understand why I'm trying to tell you this? And most of the response there will be, oh, well, you're just trying to, make us be quiet. Or, if it's an older person, it's just trying to get your way. You're just trying to be right. But you have to take it back a step and explain why. Explain the value behind your conversation. For the boys, I care about them deeply. So I explain that to them. I explain that, I'm 46 years old and I've experienced a lot of things that they've experienced and that I understand them. You have to come down to their level. Anyway, today, go to your journal. Check out, across body, being, balance and business, and this is more so a balance thing, where your communication is falling down, where someone is not hearing you properly, not understanding you and the words you're using, and, ultimately not understanding the message that you're putting across. This comes across in business as well. Do that today, and we'll catch you again on the next episode. Would you like to learn more about how stepdads across the globe are joining forces in raising the next generation of leaders? Then head to www.stepdadsuccess.com and grab all the show notes plus a copy of the brand new tactical guide for creating more happiness, health, wealth, and wisdom as a stepdad. And if you liked the podcast, please share it with other stepdads you know and leave us a review on iTunes. Again, that's www.stepdadsuccess.com for all the show notes and tactical guide. Come and join the new breed of stepdads, the growing group of leaders raising leaders.